Also at 3:30, we got all the different screens so that you can be sure that you're keeping up with the SEC on CBS while also keeping an eye on a very, very exciting edition of the Bedlam rivalry. Because Oklahoma State, I believe that when we get to the October superlatives coming up later in the show, there are arguments in almost every single category. Almost every single category. Cowboys had an incredible October. Got themselves into a spot where they are in the top 25 of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee rankings. They were playing at home with the hated rival Oklahoma in town. Sooners are going to be off, leaving the conference next year. And OU is just a 6-point favorite. Again, second straight road game. They just got field stormed in the loss to Kansas the week before. Bud, you giving this Ollie Gordon and this scrappy Oklahoma State team a chance to be able to pull off the upset and throw this Big 12 title race into true chaos?
In some ways I am. Yeah, because I'm not really sure that Oklahoma is that good. Oklahoma may have just played its game of the year against Texas, right? That yardage, success rate wise, they were pretty much the same as SMU at home, right? Some turnovers turned that game. The struggle game they had at Cincinnati looks worse after every game Cincinnati plays. Now beating Iowa State looks better. So Oklahoma may just be a very good but not great football team. And if you're just a very good team, you can lose to another team that is like an above average level team. I think we all would agree Oklahoma State's somewhere between 20 and 40 in your power ratings. Mm-hmm. Can't ignore the South Alabama thing, but they were still rotating quarterbacks and went on the road and beat Arizona State. And they've had some competitive games. Most of them have been kind of coin flippy, except for the Cincinnati one, honestly. So yeah, I give Oklahoma State a chance because Oklahoma's run defense has not been particularly good this year. And Oklahoma's run game is not that great. So you're putting on Dylan Gabriel, a guy who I'm not very impressed by. Honestly, I think he's kind of like Jag plus, not like a drafted guy type thing. So you have to put a lot on him without Andre Anthony. I guess we'll see.
I think he's better than Jag plus. I didn't, full disclosure here, like the South Alabama loss early in the year, I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to Oklahoma State earlier this year. I kind of wrote them off and said, all right, I'm not really going to have to pay much attention to them. But I have, since they've started this run and had a great October, I've been paying a little closer attention to them and watching their games. And I think Ollie Gordon is great. And I think finally going to one quarterback is great instead of playing the, musical chairs at the spot and just creating confusion. What I don't think is great is Oklahoma State's defense, particularly its secondary. I can't remember the one safety's name. I think he's the free safety's okay. The strong safety's the corners are and statistically it backs up what my eyes have seen because they allow a lot of explosive pass plays, which I don't know if you know this about Oklahoma. They are capable of creating explosive pass plays. But on the flip side, what's the one defensive weakness we've discussed about with Oklahoma the last few weeks? Its ability to stop the run and limit big plays on the ground. And here comes Mr. 250 yards a game, Ollie Gordon, Barry Sanders reincarnate for the Cowboys. This game's going to come down to which team addresses its weakness the best. Can Oklahoma limit the big plays on the ground? Can Oklahoma State cover anybody in the secondary? We'll find out. I have a feeling it's going to be high scoring. I think it's going to look like Bedlam. And I think either one of these teams could win. But I like more of what I've seen on the Sooners defense than what I have seen on the Cowboys defense so
far. Danny Stutzman banged up his ankle. I was trying to find out any news on him. I guess it's game time, but Venables said Stutzman wants to play. But he said we might wait.
Of course he does. What about Danny Stutzman and his vibe says that guy's not going to be out there hobbling around.
He'll have that sucker taped up. I thought Oklahoma against Kansas, they were a little shell-shocked early. It was interesting. I talked to Brady Quinn yesterday. I saw him in studio, and he was there. And they looked cold. I'm like, well, and I guess the cold front came in late, it came in faster than it was expected. So I think it did catch everybody off guard, but man, they looked shell-shocked early. Then they did start running the ball. Then they got away from it. Man, I think this game is a lot about what you guys talked about. I don't know. Like the Venables rebuild, I think it's better than it was last year. But are they built to stop this run game? I don't know. And then if they do get run all over, my goodness, you're going to see some Oklahoma fans upset. But if you can take them away, I don't know if Alan Bowman's good. I'm going to talk about a Jag. I think he's a Jag.
Yes.
You know, like if you can manage to put a lot of guys up there and stop Gordon, dramatically increases their success. But everybody's tried to do that. No one's been able to do it. I think Oklahoma would have the best personnel to do it that they've faced. But I don't know. I'm torn on this game because Oklahoma has limped into this game. I mean, since Texas, they go back to the UCF game, was close and not great. And then they had the game against Kansas and they let Jason Bean drive the length of the field. They couldn't get stops there. I mean, it is crunch time here. And Oklahoma State has all this momentum.
I was thinking, I don't want to jump on the Fernellis, but I was thinking about the Mississippi State Memorial, early season champion. And I feel like Oklahoma in another game, we're not doing a full breakdown, but we will definitely discuss tomorrow on the Locks Pod. But Washington going to USC, it's like Oklahoma and Washington at the beginning of the month got these massive wins. And then since then, you're kind of, starting to poke a few holes in just how excellent these programs are, especially when we're grading them against teams that are competing for a national championship. Both teams are on the road. Both teams are favorites of less than a touchdown. We'll see if anybody gets got and ends up being that Mississippi State Memorial early season champion.
Last thing on this, tackling is going to be absolutely huge, right? So Oklahoma, the last two games, their tackling has been horrendous. I mean, it really, UCF forced a lot of missed tackles. So did Kansas. Both those teams use a lot of misdirection to get guys out of position. Oklahoma State doesn't really have a great attack you downfield, but they have to. They really have to tackle well. On the other side, without Andrell Anthony, we talked about this on the Monday show. I'm not real scared of Oklahoma's receivers. Oklahoma throws more than a quarter of their passes behind the line of scrimmage. They're 91st in how many passes they throw downfield. Oklahoma does hit explosive pass plays, but a lot of them come from short stuff and getting guys out of position and breaking tackles. The team that wins this game is probably the team that doesn't allow the short stuff to become the long stuff because they didn't get out of position and they tackled well. That, neither team really threatens you down the field a whole lot, but they do. Oklahoma can be a little more explosive.
Paddles.
Do you know who ranks 86th nationally in missed tackle rate?
Who?
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State.
Do you know who's 115th?
Not Oklahoma. They're 58.
Oh, I've got a different stat then. Okay.
Oh, we got ourselves a stat off.
Stat war.
Oh, the nerds are having a stat war. Stat war. Yeah. Over under a 61. Too little? I'm hearing a lot about missed tackles.
Right.
And I know what Bedlam does. The DNA of this rivalry. Interesting. Might be a line too little.